right? Anybody, any clarifications required for what we have done in past 2 days? Basic TDL components, special symbols, dimensions. Yes, no. Anybody? Hello? Hello? Now can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Right. So we had done the basics of TDL components, hierarchy, basic hierarchy. Anybody, any questions, any clarifications required? Anybody? No clarifications? Okay, then what is the difference between space left and indent? This was what you had to look for. Anybody, please raise your hand when you need to answer, please. Anybody? A difference between space left and indent? I have a response from Muthu, indent only for line and field. Right, Muthu, but the question is, what is the difference between the indent and the space left? I have a response from
Index we consider as a tab spaces, and space left, what space we are mentioning, that much space it will take.
Okay, there is a response from two people, the same response. Space left is the space bar, space and indent is using the tab space. Okay, so Joseph, there are two people responding this. Okay, Alay Khan has responded, space left takes into account the field width and indent does not, and that's actually the right answer. Well, your answer is correct, but space left, the main difference in Tally for the space left and the indent is space left does not take the field width into account. Sorry, the space left takes the field width into account and the indent does not take the field width into account.
Doubt.
Yes, tell me.
Yeah, like if I am giving my field width as a 30 mm,
right,
and space left if I give 10 mm, whether it will deduct that 30 mm if I space left?
And the space left is the field width is 30 mm, and
space left
is 10 mm, right? So yes. Your question is, if my field width is 30 mm and my space left is 10 mm, what would be my written area, right? So anybody would like to answer this question? If his field width is 30 mm and space left is 10 mm, what will be the total width of this field? It's actually 30 mm. When it is indent, it is 30 mm plus the indent. So if I write my field width as 30 mm and my indent as 10 mm, it becomes 40 mm for that particular area. right? If it is indent, then it is 40, else it is 30, right? Okay, and there was another question, another thing there was you had to check, right? Dimensions. I think there was some question on dimensions also I had asked. Okay, I'll just repeat. If the field width is 30 mm, if the field width is 30 mm and the space left is 10 mm, the total space of the width will be 30 mm because space left will include the border of the will be within the field, whereas when you mention the indent, the field width is 30 mm plus the indent space 10 mm, so the total space is 40 mm. There was another question I had asked, the difference between inactive and invisible. I am glad to see many of you are referring to various places to give an answer. Rachna, I do not see any response from your side. I would like to know the difference between indent and inactive. Muthu has given me the response. Very good, Muthu. You are absolutely right. Like Khan, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. You are absolutely right. Anybody else would like to try this? Rachna, Sanjeev, Puneet, Shahid. Okay. The difference between an inactive and invisible is inactive keeps the space reserved for something that is not seen on your screen, but invisible does not keep that space at all. So if I have two fields in one line and one is inactive, if the field is inactive, the line length will continue to be 40 and the second field will appear from its width. Whereas when I have one field invisible and the other field visible, the invisible field space will be taken away by the second field. So absolutely right. Now, what else? So anybody, any clarification? I'll just repeat this basic hierarchy once again. You might be wondering why I am repeating this over and over again, because gradually, as I said, we are phasing out from the UI and moving it towards the more on the writing on the interactions and connecting ourselves to the internal objects. And then we will completely lose the touch of the UI hierarchy. So the basic hierarchy of the definition: the report has a form has a part has a line has a field is where we display our data. I hope everybody is clear and no doubts, no clarifications on this. Everybody? Yes? No? Right.
This is Jackson.
I think somebody is unmuted. Yes, Jackson, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I actually, ma'am, I tried yesterday something you gave us to do in the first way. Only one thing that I want to discuss is if I want to compile it, if I want to compile the program, there is no way we can do it in the education module because can.
Jackson, right. Jackson, as I had informed on the first day itself, you require a license to the compilation, to do a compilation of file and to create a TCP. you need to have a valid Tally developer license. You cannot do it without that. Right? Okay. So moving further.
Yeah, hello, ma'am. One more doubt.
Yes, there's another question.
Yeah, when we can use switch and when we can use as an option. Any example?
Okay, so there is a question asked, when do I use switch and when do I use an option? See, more or less, as I said, the working is the same. However, if you have 25 conditions to be fulfilled, in option based on and not and or combination, you will have to create those conditions. Whereas in switch, depending upon the grouping criteria, it varies. Don't worry, while we are going to start writing the course, you will see how we can make better use of providing conditions to give outputs. So today there is something that we are starting, so that should help you, right? So we can continue with the current thing. Muthu will take your question offline because this is something little away from what we are going to do, what we have already done. Okay. So today's topic is variables, buttons, and keys. So we have variables, we have buttons, and we have keys. So whatever we have done up till now was very standard, and there was nothing else. I mean, everything was just hard-coded, and everything was ready to stay. Now gradually we are going to make this little interactive, though hard-coded, but little interactive, that based on some clicks we will be able to do something. So we start with something very basic, a variable. Now, what's a variable? A variable is an entity which can take different values, and it is independent of your database. It does not matter what you have in your database. The variable is a completely independent of that database. Basic requirement of this variable is to help you to change the look, the feel of a report. For giving example, you are running an HR firm. You are running a recruitment agency, and as per your recruitment, you are trying to showcase a report. This report is providing you the list of all the companies which require legal advice. In this, you only want to view the name of the company, designation, the number of years of experience required. In general, the report that we generally see in Tally, we get all the details. Number of years, and the salary they give, and this and that. However, I just want to view selected columns. So in Tally, these selected columns are controlled by variables. Let me open Tally and give you one very small example. This is Tally. Okay. Now, balance sheet. My data has been populated into this balance sheet. However, right now the data that I'm viewing is into this vertical format. Correct? I want to view this in horizontal format. F12. Can everybody see my balance sheet? Right? So here I press F12, show vertical balance sheet, no. And now I access the screen. Now I have a horizontal balance sheet. How does it matter to my data? Does it impact my data whether I see it horizontally or vertically? Does my profit increases when I see it vertically and I see it horizontally, it becomes my loss? Does it impact my database? No, it does not. So to control these kind of behaviors is why we have. Now, obviously, does not make sense for me to store these values in my database or along with my data. It does not impact my data at all. How does it matter? So these kinds of data, where it does not impact my database but definitely impacts the view of my data, are stored in variables. So variable can store values independent of your database, which we call as object or collection, and are specifically used to help you to control the behavior of a report that you see on your screen. We can create a new variable and we can create a new report or a new menu. So open square bracket, definition type variable, colon, the name of my variable. Everybody clear with this? Everybody clear with this? Yes, anybody has a question? I think somebody raised the hand, right? No. So everybody clear with this? Variable?
Yeah, like if I want to store my values, like right now when we are changing in the like yes or no, it is not saving. So every time it is asking for me. If I want to store that value, how we can do that?
Okay, so there is a question that right now when I do yes or no, that yes does not get stored, it gets changed back to no. This is a very good question. Just have little patience. That's what the next thing we are hopping on. So don't worry, that's there. But is this part clear?
Yes.
Right. Right. So there are 4 basic attributes of variables. These are not the only attributes. These are the 4 basically frequently used attributes at variable. One is the type. What type of data can this variable hold? Whether it's a string, number, date, or logical. What will be the default value of this variable when it is introduced to Tally? There is something called as persistent, there is something called as volatile, right? So we start with something called data type, called type. And I did tell you, right, that by using hash, we can display the variable value. Okay, so we'll show that. We'll write a small tried out code on that. So I will say just copy pasting this just to make it a little faster. I write variables and so my shortcut becomes to display variable type. Okay, I am just copying my report name because when I add a new file, I will just copy paste the name of my report so I don't make a spelling mistake. So my fourth file, open square bracket, report, /*, this file has been created to show the usage of variable. */ right? Report title is important generally for every report, but what if I don't provide a title to this report? Will it fail? Will it give me an error? I got some answers. Ali says no, Puneet says no, Muthu says it's in a project, no error. Okay, there's no error, right. There is no error, absolutely correct. If I don't provide a title, there wouldn't be an error. But then, what would be my report title? Will it be blank or would there be a default value? Okay, there are few people responded, Rachna and Jackson. They said that will be a default value. Now, what will be the default value? What would be the default value? Anybody would like to try? The answer is yes. The report title wouldn't be blank. There will be a default value. Now, what is that default value? The default value when table name is not provided, the report name is not provided, it will be the report name. So if I don't give title, it will give this as my report title name. Okay? So if this is not provided, this will be my report name. There is somebody unmuted. Who is? Would you like to ask a question while you are unmuted? I am not able to search who is unmuted. Somebody? Was there anybody who wanted to ask a question? Okay, fine. So the report name is variable test. I have provided a title called variables. However, if I don't provide the title, the name of my report will be considered to be the title of my report. Correct? My report contains form, form contains part, part contains control space bar to get the list of attributes under part, paste, open square, control space bar gives me the list of destination types, colon, control space bar, field, and set as variable result. Now before we go ahead checking or doing anything, we always should start with the basic thing and check what is the output. So Control F5 executes Tally from my Tally developer, connecting this project to the Tally. Tally executed. Select company name, username and password. My variables 2 is the name of my, and I see the title. But have you noticed that in many screens of Tally, there are those prompts available? The colons are available. Can't we provide that? Maybe we should provide that, right? So it looks more neater. So we'll provide a prompt. Now we will provide one more field, which gives me the output of this variable. So I give field variable name set as. Right now my set as is blank. I will give an value to it as the text in my variable. So I'll define a variable and my variable name I give variable test and its type as. We start with something very crude and crucial, string, something very, very basic. And obviously, currently the variable has no value, so I provide a default value to this variable, which says TD says 10. Fine. And I want this variable value to be shown here. To show a field value, I could do hash, copy, paste the field name, so I get the same thing. Similarly, if I want this variable value, it has to be double hash the variable name. Is this clear to everybody? Yes, Ali. Anybody else, any doubt on this? What does this do? So right now, the only aim is to show this value that is holded in a variable to this, right? We are only going to show that. So let's check the output once again. Oh, well, there's no output. I did right? I have a variable test2, I have provided this, but my field did not show the value. Oh, why? Save, quit, 5. It is not showing me the value. Why? There has to be some reason behind it, right? Is the first thing, the valid thing that you need to do is, you need to check whether the name you have given is correct or not. So does it trigger? Yes, it does trigger. I have given type, I have given default. Still, my field value does not come. Moreover, I am not even able to know whether the field exists or not. So let me just give the width to the field to understand at least whether the field is getting linked or not. So I give 40% of screen, and here I give width as 25% of screen. Okay. And to get ensure that we are 100% getting the screen, I also give it a background color to be red. See, these are only ways how you can troubleshoot whether what you are doing is correct or not. So I'm giving the width, I'm giving the background, I'm not giving the output, but I'm giving the width and the background. So at least I know whether it is working or not. So let me just refresh. Let's call TDL account. Oh yes, the field has got added, but the text is still not getting displayed. So what could be the reason? We'll see that. So at least I know to this extent that the code is correct. Now, why there is no output? We'll see that. Then we have an attribute called default. Then we have an attribute called persistent. Now, this is where I think brand mark. Yes, you had asked this question that the yes does not remain yes, it becomes no again. Right? That was the question you had asked me. This is the reason. There is something called as persistent. Now, what's the meaning of persistent? What's the meaning of persistent? Continuous, absolutely right. Persistent means existence, whether it should be lasting or not. Absolutely correct. Generally, when you just write variable colon variable name and you provide the data type, it only means that the variable exists. However, whether this variable value should be retained or should be not be retained is what you need to mention. So, the persistent yes indicates that the value of this variable should be holding within the application even after you quit the application. So, Brian, your question was, how does it hold? This is the reason it holds, that those variable definitions have an attribute written called persist. However, every persistent variable has to be a system variable. We have written a system formula and we had something called as local formula. Local formula could be used within the definition type. Similarly, if any variable value has to be persisting or has to be existing even after you restart your application, it has to be a part of my system. Hence, every persistent variable has to be a part of my system variable. So the moment I write persistent colon yes, this becomes mandate. Now what is this? This says that variable GRP expense STR is of type string should persist under the system variable, the variable name and its default value. Now, if you have mentioned the default value here, you may not mention a default value here. However, even if you don't mention a default value here, it initializes itself with a null value. And then gradually, based on what is your last value that you have selected gets stored there. So default value is not mandate. You can leave it as empty code without a space and it can persist. Then there is something called as volatile. Basically, a variable can hold only one value at a time. A variable can hold only one value at a time. Now, there are certain behaviors that we need. For example, when I go to my trial balance, display trial balance, I go to current liabilities and press enter, sundry creditors, sundry creditors non-trading, Assured Finance's monthly summary, go to the month of October, it is blank, okay. I don't have any entries for him. Okay. Okay. And I press enter here, I see the voucher, I press enter here, I see its voucher, right? Now when I start doing an escape, it returns back in the same sequence I had entered. That's a LIFO method, last in first out method that it follows. This behavior of a variable is called stacking. So as I said, at any given point of time, a variable holds only one value. So to stack this value into a LIFO method, a variable attribute called volatile should be enabled. Now the question is, do I have to mention volatile yes every time for every variable in case I want this behavior? Answer is no. Even if you do not mention volatile yes, the hidden feature of this variable you create will be volatile yes. So by default, if you do not mention persistent, the default value of every variable inherited is no, and for volatile inherited is yes. Am I made myself very clear? Have I made myself clear? Anybody, any queries? Rachna, can we use both of them together? Rachna, does it, as I said, variables can hold one value at a time. So stacking of value and hold and making it persistent. So Rachna has a question. Can I say persistent colon yes and volatile colon yes? Does not make sense actually, Rachna, because at a time a variable can hold only one value, and the moment you do a volatile and when you stack out, it disturbs the last variable value it had. So even if I enter the trial balance again, probably the variable value will be empty. And when I say volatile, it is stacking the value and destructing it. So it does not make sense to have volatile and persistent together. Right? Now, coming back to this important thing, the question that we still have facing with the problem, my variable value is not displayed. The reason is scope. Mere declaration of variable does not make sense. When I define the variable, it merely exists in Tally. When I say variable colon variable name with a tag, it is merely defined. It is a variable. Something like, I have written variable test2 and it exists. If I write something like this and make it test3, this field definition exists. It's merely existing, but I haven't used it. Existence is there, but I haven't used it. Usage is not there. I have not declared it that it is going to be used at this line. Right? So a mere existence does not mean that it can be used, or it simply says it's available. So this is what we need to understand. The scope of the variable. Depending upon the scope of the variable is how we can use it. So right now I have simply said that I have a variable called variable test. Now I will declare this at my report level that somewhere in my TDL code there is a variable which exists and I want you to use the variable. I just changed that name so that we know we are talking about a variable. I'll just make it variable test var. Otherwise it will be a little confusing. Right? So I simply define, definition is there. Only at my report level, I am declaring that somewhere in material code there is a variable that exists that you might have to use somewhere, and I am using it. Now let's refresh the TDL. Let's run TDL at 4. Am I getting the output? Yes. So what was the difficulty? A mere existence of a variable definition does not mean that it is or it can be used at any given point of time until and unless it is called. Until and unless it is called, you cannot use it. This is usage, this is definition, and this is declaration. So until it is not declared at the report level, the usage cannot happen. So there is a scope that we have, a local scope, and a global scope. So variable that can be used only in the report where it is associated is what we just did. So only if I declare at my report level that I have a variable, then within this report definition in the entire hierarchy, I can use this variable at any given point of time. There is
Can we use multiple times same variable in the same report?
There is a question that has been raised. The question is, can I use the same variable in that report multiple times? Yes, you can. Tally does not hold you back to use the same variable multiple times. That's absolutely okay. But then, as I said, that variable will hold one value at a time. So if the same variable is used in the same report and you're trying to change these values, it will hold the last value. Okay? Set is a variable that helps me to change my variable value. Now, I'll just show you how it happens. Variable definition, I have given my default value as Tally. At report definition, I have only declared it and have used it. Now, at this report level, I say set. I give my variable name. The reason I am not mentioning that it's a variable is because set only takes a variable name. And I change this to Now you understand the importance of commenting. This is a set attribute at report level which takes variable name. Here also I can write set, but here it allows me to push a text or some value for output display. But here set indicates that I want to change the variable value. So let's refresh. Right now it is showing Tally, picking up from variable, F for TDL F4, Control A to reaccess, refresh. Right? But this means that if I create another report, even in that report, I will have to declare this, that it's a variable that I want to use. Currently, this is called a local scope of a variable. So, if a variable is attached to that report, then the scope of this variable will be only that report and its components. As I said, initial values are not mandatory. You may have initial values, you may not have initial values, but these are called local variables, and these need to be explicitly called in whichever report you want to use. Clear? Everybody clear what's the local variable? Muthu, I'll come to your question a little later. Everybody clear? Ashok, are you clear?
State function is nothing like local, like normally we use as a local, right? It's the same, similar kind of function. Under report, if I am writing, it will take this for the complete variable or only that particular assigned variable?
First of all, it is not a function, it's an attribute. Secondly, the behavior of attributes, as I said, the attribute names may be same in the definition, but their behaviors will be different. So the set attribute at report level accepts variable name as a parameter. So whatever variable name you have provided is what will be considered for modification. Right? I think I have answered your question, Brian. Right? So that's a local variable. Initial values are not necessary. I need to define or declare it as a report definition, and I can use that variable across all the components of that particular report. But have you noticed that there are certain variables which are used in all the reports, like F2, your current date. What you change here is accepted or is changed across all the screens and reports of Tally. Isn't it? Right? So that's what happens, right? So there are certain variables which are used across all your reports, and if you change at one place, it changes your entire Tally. It may just change an entire Tally. So how do we do that? So there is where the local variable comes into picture. So there is something called as global variable. So like we have a system formula, we have something called a system variable to make a variable global. So even if I do not declare it at reports level, the variable still can be used. So currently what I have done is at report level I have mentioned this variable name, right? I'll do one thing, I will add another field. I will give another variable, TDL variable test flag. I give that hash. So this is what I want to show. I will define a new variable variable name. The data type will be of type string. I do not provide a default value, but I declare it as a system variable. They provide an initial value. In case you do not want to provide an initial value, you need to provide empty quotes. That means I do not want to provide any initial value. It's a null character. And I will give an initial value here. Now, this TSPL variable test2, I am not mentioning in my report at all or anywhere in its components. But I have given it to be a system variable. So now just see this change. Ratna. Did I really declare it in my report definition? No, I did not. But here it is showing. So the difference between a local variable and a system variable is that I do not have to declare it at every report level that use this variable, but a system variable I can do that. Right? So when the moment I declare it in a system variable, it can be used across all the variables. However, making it system variable does not make this variable value stored, or probably the value that we are changing will not be stored even after we quit Tally. But there was something that I spoke about, right? Persistence, that the value will persist, the change will persist even as I change it, right? So every persistent variable is a system variable, but every system variable is not a persistent variable. So if I want to use a variable across all the reports, you can use this, more than enough. But if you want the application to hold this value even after you save, even after you quit Tally, then it is Am I clear? Am I clear?
Clear.
So I just repeat this. Every persistent variable has to be a system variable, but every system variable is not a persistent variable. Done? So, the moment it's a system variable, this variable can traverse from an interface to interface till the application is not quit. Interface to interface, this means there are 4 kinds of interfaces we spoke about: report, menu, button, and table. And as you have seen, every report in default Tally has buttons. Now buttons are, again, all this is variables. So whatever I change here, this is my button. Whatever I change here should impact my interface. This is a button. With a click of a button, if my variable value is changing, should impact my report. As for the Tally internally, button and report are 2 different entities. So variable is the bridging element to help us to interact between the button and our report. Hence, every button you use, every variable you use in your button will be a system variable, but they will not be a persistent variable. Is this clear? So there are variables which are called local. There are variables that we have global, and based on that we can change it. Is this clear to everybody? Right. So we come to this field acting as a variable when we are going to write a drill down report similar to our trial balance. So for time being, we can just take a note of it. Field acting as a variable. What is important for a field to exist? Its data type. So even field has a data type. So the moment a field has a data type and you declare a variable in that field, the data type is picked from there. So we will be seeing this when we are writing our drill down reports. So just keep this concept in mind. There is something called as field acting as variable. So there are ways that you can modify variable values on the fly. One is at the report level we can write set. Field level there is an attribute called modified to help you to change the variable value, and this is what we are going to start with. Set action of button definition, which is going to help me to make my report a bit more interactive. So we start with something called as buttons, right? So I am going to make my interface a little more interactive. So I will have a definition type called button. A button always has a title. There is an attribute called action, and this action, one of the action is set, which is similar to the attribute that we have at the reports level. So this is how we are going to do. So before we get into creation of buttons and everything, there are a few details you need to understand. Everything in Tally is action. You even scroll down, it's an action, scroll up is an action. So how are these actions triggered? These actions are triggered either through menu, that's a display that we saw, something like button that we saw, we press F2 and it's a button, or shortcut key, enter, it's a key. So when menus when selected executes the action, button is visible on the button bars that you have seen. These are the button bars, this top panel and the bottom panel that we have. All this is button bar. Key activates when the action, when the specified keys are hit, and these are associated with buttons. You see, there is F4 is the shortcut key associated to a button. Or a single underline is Alt plus F2 is a shortcut key for period. F2 is a shortcut key for date, right? So every button is linked to a specified combination of keys, and a key can be associated to a button. So three basic attributes of button: the key, the shortcut key we require, the title to the button, what should be the button name that gets displayed there, and an action to perform. When I click on that button, what should happen? Okay, so this is how it will look like. Again, as I said, mere existence of button definition does not link it to a report. However, a button is added to the form and not to the report. So let us just add a button to this existing report that we have created. Right? We'll do one. We'll create one. And we will create another variable for that. We will not use the existing variable. We'll create a logical variable for this that will be helping us doing our job, and it is also going to show you how do we use an option or a switch. So I have created a new variable The variable name is TDL variable test 2. Right? Now, because I'm going to use this variable in my hello. Am I audible?
Hello. Yes, we can hear you.
Right. So now because I'm going to use this variable in a button, and based on that, I would like to show its output to my report. It should impact my report. I will have to declare this variable in my system variable, and I will give an initial value to be no. Okay, so I've given an initial value and I have given the definition. So now this variable can be used across interfaces without even defining it at any given point of time, right? So now I want to use this variable for my button. So I'll do one thing. On click of this button, I will change the background color of this particular field. The requirement statement is I will not even go to that complicated part. I will go to a simple thing. Click of that button, I will make this field invisible. Is the requirement clear? Based on click of a button, I will make my variable test2 visible or invisible. Right? So first thing that I will do is I will create a button. I will give the button name as TDL. In the button, title I will provide invisible. Then I need a shortcut key combination to do my work. Every key in Tally you see has a shortcut key. Every button has a shortcut key. So I will provide a shortcut key to this. So key medium F1. So when I press F1, this field should become invisible. And I say action set which variable name? This variable name, if I'm not wrong, correct. To yes. So when I click on this button, the variable value should become yes. And this button has to be declared at my part level, that you need to use this button. Is this clear? Is this clear what I have done? I created a new variable. I declared it under system variable so that I can use this variable to talk between my interfaces.
Always we have to define the buttons under part only?
It is not under part at all.
No, you define the... Yeah. Under the part, you mentioned that button, right now?
No, it's not under part. I have declared it in the form.
Form. Okay. So always it should be under the form buttons. Declared form.
It's a non-procedural language. TDL is a non-procedural language, so it does not matter.
No. I mean to say, like always, the buttons we have to declare under the form only. Under the part we cannot declare, right?
Button attribute is under definition type form. Button is an attribute of definition type form. Part, how can we have a button? Because anywhere in Tally, display demo, a button is for this entire report, and it's not for this particular, that there is a different button for this and there's a different button for this area. No, it's not based on the area. For this entire chunk, this is the button, whatever it is. Understood? So it cannot be as a part. It is a part. It has to be declared in the form. So a button is declared in the form so that you can use it for any part, line or field below that hierarchy. Is this clear? Am I clear? Right?
Clear.
Right. So, okay. Now, what will I do is, okay. So let us just execute and see what is happening in my Tally. Now, since it's a system variable, I will have to quit Tally and restart. Any system variable to get into existence, you have to quit Tally and restart. If it's a local variable, you can refresh Tally. But when it's a system variable, you have to restart Tally. Right? So on the top corner, I can see invisible and I click on this. But nothing is happening. So does it mean that my yes, no is not working? I haven't given what it should do when it becomes yes. Have I given? No, I haven't. So when I click on this, I say invisible. Now what, by default, what invisible it should do? It should bring me this variable value. So if this variable value is yes, it will bring here yes and it will work. Let us just restart and check once again. Now see what happens. Select company invisible. But when I click again, it is not getting visible because I've hard coded here. I said always the moment I click on this, it should turn yes, but I have to toggle it, right? So what do? Copy whatever the variable value is, reverse it. If the variable value is yes, not of yes. So what is not of yes? What is not of yes? Absolutely right. Not of yes is no. So now let us refresh and see what is happening. So now it is yes. So when I click on it, it is no. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Again, based on this yes, no also, I can change this invisible title. How? If # the variable value is equal to Yes, then invisible, else visible. Now let's see how does it work. Shouldn't it be the reverse way? So is equal to yes, then visible, else invisible. Now, 2. Right now it is visible, so when I click on it, it becomes invisible and the title changes to visible. And that is how simple it is to write this. Simple, isn't it?
If I want to store this value, like if always should be invisible, like whichever I stored, so how we can store that value?
Simple.
Persist as a yes?
Persistent, colon, yes. So now when I quit Tally, now since I have written a value that has to get stored into my system, before I do it, I have to first quit. I'll just restart. Obviously for customer this will not happen, this process is only for the developer. So don't worry. Now see how the persistent works. Fine. So I go to variables. Right now it is visible. So I make it invisible. Quit. Start again. Correct, Brand? Have I answered your question?
Yes. Clear.
Right. Now there is one more angle to this. For an example, if I change my period here, this period changes across my Tally. Correct? But if I change my period here, it only changes for this report. When I quit, it is again the original period in my gateway of Tally. So when I enter again, it again restarts it. Right? Am I right? Everybody, have you noticed this change?
Yes.
Okay. So we do not have a separate set of variables here. What we do is the same variable, which we talk about persistent and being a system variable, although it is changed through variable and through button, we mention this variable name as the report scope so that whatever changes we do to this variable, this change is there but only for this report. So the moment you quit the report, the variable goes back to its original value. So this is the scope of a button, the scope of a variable that we can use. Is this clear? So there are scopes of variables. One is local scope, one is persistent scope, one is global scope, one is global variables but made local for a report. So basically there are 4 scopes to a variable. One is a local variable, that is you define the variable and the variable definition, and whenever you need to use this variable for a particular report, you need to mention it into report that variable colon variable name. And then you can use that report, that particular variable anywhere within that report scope. In case you want that particular variable to be used across the interfaces, then it has to be a system variable. In case you want to store that variable value, it has to be persistent colon yes. Although it's a global variable, and the change variable value should be only for that report, then you also have to declare it at the report level so the variable value does not change. Doesn't anybody have this question? Where does this stored variable value go? Anyway, it's not part of my database, so definitely it is not going to my company folder, my data folder. 100% it is not going to my data folder. So where is this variable value residing? Muthu is asking Tally configuration or initialization file. Okay, could you give me the file name in that case? Anybody? There is an answer called from Jackson Tally.ini. Can you just open your Tally.ini file and check? Does it show you the list of variable names that you have? I'll just open the Tally.ini file in my notepad. Oops, I opened the wrong file. Just my Tally.ini here. Do I see any of my? Do I see any of it? No. It's not Tally.ini because you can see. If it was Tally.ini, you could have seen your variable name here. So no, it's not Tally.ini. Anybody else wants to try? Obviously, it has to get stored somewhere, but where? Come on, think. There are so many files. Think. No, it cannot be a Tally XML file. There is one answer from Puneet, TSS files. You're quite close to it. Could you tell me the name of the TSS file? Yes, it's a TSS file. Tally saving file. What is this TSS? Tally cfg.tsf. Absolutely correct. The file name in which your configurations get saved, your variable values get saved, is Tally cfg.tsf. Absolutely. You know, at times when you call the support center and there are some data corruptions, there is some error and corruptions, and they make your customer delete the CSG file, and then when your customer restarts Tally, everything is to 0, and they have to do the entire configuration again, and they complain you that the configuration has gone to 0, right? This is the reason it has gone to 0. Tally CSG.tsf is where your variable values get holded. So every persistent variable value that you have in your Tally gets holded here. So the moment somebody deletes this file, all the configuration sets back to default. So am I clear on this? Anybody, any questions on this? Clear, everybody? Yes, a very good question I have received. If we delete the file, will Tally recreate the file? Yes, Ali. As soon as the Tally application restarts, there are certain files that we try to locate, like a Tally license file, your configuration file, your INI file. So yes, the moment Tally application identifies that the file does not exist, it will create a file by that name and it will provide the default values of the variable that is made available in the TDL. Jackson, this question is not a part of the TDL session, that is Tally, LIC 7 or TSS, so you can just speak to the partner support team for this. Anything else related to what TDL we have and the code we did? Nobody. Don't you have a question? How to bring it underlined? See, right now what we, Jackson has raised a question. Yes, Jackson, raise your hand.
The earlier thing which you told, when you delete the Tally LIC, that TDF file, TFF file, how does it recreate itself?
Jackson, I cannot hear you. You are too far away from the mic.
Yeah. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, the file which one of our colleagues answered, that this is the file which stores all the configuration and variable names. If I delete that file, or if someone deletes that file, how does it recreate? So in that case, there is a dump again stored somewhere else also in that case, if it recreates itself.
Jackson, the application has there's an intelligence tool created within the application, that there are certain file dependencies for that application to run. So the moment that it's basically nothing but those are system files that require for the application to execute. So the moment the application is executed, it starts loading all the files that are necessary for it to run, like the TDL server.dll, Tally.ini file, the TSS file, the license file. So the moment it does not find that file, what it does is it quickly creates that file and whatever default system variables are available are flushed into it. So it's an application intelligence tool created to create that file. So a customer does not have, so that's the problem. When customer deletes that file and he reopens Tally, at times and the file gets recreated, he feels that there is a virus in the system which is recreating this file. So every time he quits Tally, he deletes that file. And that is why his configuration goes back to 0 every time. So actually there's an intelligence created in the tool, the application, that on finding the file does not exist, it creates the file, flushing all the system variables in that file. This is the default pattern. I hope I have answered your question, Jackson. Right. Anybody, any other question? See, because the moment you don't ask me a question, I will start asking you a question. So it's always better you ask me questions, right? Fine. So if nobody has a question, let me ask you this question. Right now I have given my shortcut as F1, right? My shortcut is F1. I want an underscore here, a single underscore, something that I have here, Alt F1. I want this underscore. How do I do that? How do I do? I have two people answering. One says Alt plus F1. One says Alt F1. One says key colon F1 plus Alt. One says change key to Alt plus F1. Fine. So I will start with something called as Alt F1 because that's how we say, right? So we say Alt F1. Let's see how does it work. So TDL F4 does not showcase me. So Alt F1 does not work. Then there is somebody written Alt plus F1, and there's what else? F1 plus Alt. F1 plus Alt. So F1 plus Alt also does not work. F1 and Alt, will this work? No. Then there was another answer that I got. Alt plus F1 space. So the answer is Alt plus F1. I need to write key Alt plus F1. So what if I want double underscore? I write Alt twice. What if I want two underscores? Yes, I see a lot of people getting active on this. CTRL plus F1. Let us see. F12, TDL, F4. Correct. So if I want to have a double underscore, key colon control plus F1 is absolutely correct. Right? Anybody, any other questions? I have a good question here. Just a second. Jackson, you said please explain the functionality again for Alt plus F1. How do we change it? In my code, I write Alt plus F1. The moment I write this in my T, F12, TDL, F4, and I refresh my tally, this will be my shortcut. So can you see this on my screen? Jackson, this is specifically for you. So could you see this change with my tally screen? Jackson, could you see the screen? Can you see the change in the screen on the right hand top? Great. Now there is a question from Muthu. How to position the button, order like before for item. It will basically take a sequence in which you mentioned. So I say comma separated, and I can keep giving as many buttons I want. However, as I said, this is by default from the top. If you want, you can have bottom button also. The moment I say bottom button, F12, TDL, F4, refresh, and my button is at the bottom. You see, now let's move to the bottom. And if I want, I can give blank. There are certain template button created. Button, blank button. This button is completely blank. So I simply use this button to provide a blank button from the top. So F12 TDL F1. Oh, sorry, I need to position it after. Yeah. So there is no ordering as such, Muthu. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But by giving a blank button, a second blank button, a third blank button is what you have. Fine? Anybody, any other question? No.
Whether we have to provide any storage for the variables?
Storage for the variable. That's what we did, right? The moment I say persistent : yes, and I mention it as the system variable, it stores the variable in Tally CSG.TSF. So there is no separate storage as such. I think this is your question, right, Brian?
No, like if a field is acting as a variable, then for that particular field we have to provide any storage?
That's a very last question that you should ask, because we have yet not come on that part of creating storages for field. Right now we're just working with hard-coded values, just seeing the working of these fields. So I think you should be patient enough. You need to have patience. Yes, Jackson, my voice gets echoed the moment the mic of Brand is. My voice gets echoed when Brand unmutes him. So that will happen. It's nothing from either of the sides. So probably they are having speakers. Or maybe they are having two systems on which they are connected.
No, we are having in projector, ma'am. We are not single. We are having team.
Right. So probably that's the reason why my voice is there's an echo of my voice when you unmute. That's okay. What else? Any other questions? Sanjeev, do you have a question? Because you have unmute yourself. Sanjeev, are you there? Questions, fast. I need more questions.
Like right now, how we link the action, same way we can open the forms, right? In the buttons. Like in action, we have to say open the form, display form, right? Action set as a display form.
Okay. So the question from Brand is, right now at button level, I have written set and I have changed the variable one. So if I want to open another report, should I write a display here and write a report name? Absolutely correct. You are absolutely right. I changed my action to set. I changed my action to display, and I provide my report name. So it will open that particular report. You're absolutely right. Any other question? Shamir, you are too silent today. Either you have understood everything or you have understood nothing. Which is the side? Everything or nothing?
No, clear, ma'am.
Shamir? Salish? Salish, are you clear? Thomas, are you clear?
Clear. Okay.
Right. So now can we fine. So using this, we will now make use of option. Okay. So what we have done up till now is we made a field invisible, right? Using the similar kind of thing, we'll make an option field, or we'll make an optional form, and we'll change the background color of the form, right? Let us do that. So this is my variable, logical variable that I'm going to use. So I will provide an optional form. What will I do? Based on this option, I will change my background color. Okay. So by default background color, let us just choose a background color. Control J, COLOR, and I'll choose a background color to be aquamarine. I'll copy this from here and I paste here so I do not make a spelling mistake. Option variable text opt condition my variable value. If the variable value is yes, then if this is yes, then this will get triggered. How do I write this? Open square bracket. Now because this definition has to get exercised based on a condition, exclamation, option, my definition type. Now what will be the definition type of variable test opt? Form, because it is declared under the form definition type, form name, and I will change my background color to say red. Okay, so let us just refresh Tally. F12 TDL F4. All see by default it is, because the variable value is low, the background color is red. I click on this and it becomes green. But the field value, because I had conditionally changed this, because I had changed this field explicitly, it is still red. Are you getting this? Though my form background color is aquamarine, explicitly I have changed my field background color to red, is why this field is still red. Otherwise, say if I make this blue, I change this explicitly to become blue. Explicitly it is blue. Is this clear to everybody?
Yeah. Now button is the jump automatically below, or it's in TDL we mentioned?
We mentioned in TDL. We have mentioned in TDL bottom button name. We have mentioned. We have placed it. Is this clear? Everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Now I can have multiple options. Now this was one of the examples of an option. I can have multiple options. For example, now this was just one example of having an option. Now there could be multiple options made available for changing the background color. For an example, I can hard code the value that if where is it? Yeah, this is a system variable, right? That, and I just removed this. Okay, I'm just commenting this for temporary fields. If this way option value is TSPL whatever yes, and this variable value is equal to tally, then you hit for this option. Okay, I have given a condition. And sorry, I changed this condition to this because anyway, tally is my default value. Right. So the default value is Ratna. The default value of this variable is Ratna. However, the condition says if my variable is set to yes, and if it is if this variable value is Bharat Goenka, then you shoot for this condition. So let us just refresh and see how it works. Although the variable value is yes, this variable value isn't Bharat Goenka, it is tally. So that's the reason why it is not working. It is throwing this as my value. So what do I do? Now we'll just take a small change here, and I will change this variable value to Bharat Goenka. Let's see what's the output now. See, it is changed to Z. So this is an if else and criteria that we have, and now say I give one more option which says only if this variable value is yes, let this be option 1 and let this be option 2. I add another option. Green. So now let's refresh. Please notice the difference that we are doing, okay? This was the reason. You see, the moment I tried to refresh, it gave me an error. Because I did not compile it, it gave me an error here that it is a duplicate description. So I just have to change. See, right now my variable value is low and my background color is aquamarine. When I click this, it becomes green because it is satisfying these both conditions. Right? Now I change this variable value only to Goenka and just refresh this. Now see the difference. Oh, I will have to quit because it's a system with me. Sorry. Right, it is hitting for green because it is not equal to. First it hit for red because it was both the conditions were satisfied. So it has to be green because it is only giving me going curve. So this is where it at times created trouble because it was difficult to get into the conditions of and or loop. And this is why there was something we came up with which is called as switch. In this switch, we provide a grouping criteria, the optional form name, and this criteria. So now this is off. So when this variable value is yes, you give me green. And we'll have another criteria, but not in this. We'll say we will increase the height and width of this form when the variable value is no. Okay. So this we will have one more case, and we say opt to, and we say not. Now we have, so we will not give a background color here. So this is the options that we have. So if it is yes, it will give me red. If it is no, the background color is green. Then I give one more switch condition. And I change this group, case 2. Now this case becomes that if this variable value is equal to correct or is equal to, or it contains going car, trigger for this, and if it does not contain going car, we will give another option. Okay. Important thing that we need to remember, a switch has a precedence over option. So if in a definition, if switch is also available and option is also made available, if any of the switch criteria is fulfilled, option will not get triggered at all. So you might, by troubleshooting, you might be wondering why your option is not working. This could be the reason. So we'll just refresh. Right now it is red and it's not full screen. So red, and it contains going car, so it is red, and I will make the width. Okay. And now I change this. There was a question from somebody. Is that the precedence restricted to when the conditions are equal, or is always this? Always. Switch will always have precedence over options. Options will get rejected if switch exists. So it is always preferred, if you're using options, you use options across all the places. And if you're using switch, use switch everywhere. There could be a possibility that there's a modification you have done to default and it is not taking place. And this could be the reason that the switch is already executed itself and cannot execute option. So there's a question that Alim asked, is that the precedence restricted when the conditions are equal for the switch and the option? The answer is no. Irrespective of switch and option, switch will always have precedence. Only when none of the conditions of the switch is fulfilled is when it will go to read option. So the moment switch, any condition of switch is satisfied, options will be ignored. The question Alim asked is, so then option can be used as a catch or exceptions? Yes, you can say that all the exceptions of the switch cases, that can be an option. But then that will become a very complicated, permutations and combinations of conditions. Any other question? I am actually expecting more questions, and I do not understand why there are no questions.
Another 100% screen didn't came, right? The one third option.
Because you tell me the reason.
Yeah, no, because we have to change that variable name as a Goenka to something else.
Absolutely right. This has to change, right? You're absolutely right. So if I do this, see, you are able to troubleshoot the code now, sir.
So,
But still not
because it contains. We have to Goenka we have to remove.
Okay, let's see. Where am I? So does it work now? See, you're able to troubleshoot your code. Anything else? Come on, I'm waiting for you people to give me more answers. More answers, more questions.
Can we give the field value? That the Goenka what we are writing, so can we give that particular field value?
Absolutely. See, currently I have used variable because I am trying to I'm explaining variable chapter. So that's the reason I have made use of variables. Yes, you can use your field reference, or you can make use of your function, your method name, your formulas, local formulae, global formulae, everything. You can make use of. See, it's a condition. This condition can be anything. It may not necessarily be a main. Condition can trigger from everywhere. Anywhere. It can be an if-else condition also. But anyway, it's an if and then only. So you may not even do that. Anything else? Why is Puneet and Salish so silent? Thomas, are you clear? Salish, can you hear me? Salish, you are unmuted. I need to understand. Are you clear? Ashok, are you clear? Any questions?
Question. So that's clear.
Ashok, you are clear, right?
Yeah.
Great. Great. Fine. So I see more or less everybody, since there is no question from everybody, I understand that you are clear with what we have done today. A little complex. We have actually, if you see, a simple code. By adding small things to it, we have made it quite interactive. Right? So, one thing that I was talking about Dictionary Manager, and I wasn't able to show you. After the end of the session, I will show you the working of Dictionary, working of Dictionary Manager. Okay. So we added a button. So now there are certain rules of identification of the key. You can have Control plus key, you can have Alt plus key, but a combination of Control plus Alt with Shift is not allowed in a button, because we do not have anything to identify Shift. Control is identified by double underscore, Alt is identified by single underscore, but there is nothing that we can identify Shift with. So a Shift with that function key combination is not allowed. Also, while giving title to your button, please ensure you give a very precise small title so that it is fitted there. I think there's a question raised. Alay is not Control plus Alt, it's Control or Alt. So you can say Control plus a function key, Alt plus a function key. Control and Alt cannot be given together for a button. A key combination for a button can have a combination of Control plus a function key or a number or an alphabet. Can have Alt plus a function key, number or an alphabet. But cannot have a combination of Control plus Alt plus a key, or Control plus Alt plus some function, or Shift plus some key. Not allowed. Title has to be very, very small. I mean, small in the sense a meaningful title to the button, so that it is visible. If you see the space that we have for button panel is too small, so try and avoid writing big titles to your buttons. Make it very precise and small ones. Okay. Then this is something that you will have to try, true or false. But don't we use Shift? We all of us use Shift, right? Have you used Shift? In Tally, Display, Daybook, here I don't use, on the button panel I don't have Shift, but I press a Shift Enter here. Don't I do that? Shift plus Enter key. Don't I do that? Yes or no? And what is the shortcut key to paste a text in Tally?
Control Alt V.
Who answered this? is this?
Brand mark.
Brand mark, right. Right. So the shortcut key is Control Alt V. Absolutely correct. But have you seen anywhere in Tally that we are showing Control plus Alt plus V anywhere? We are not showing it. So there is something called as button. Buttons are attached to your form, and that is what you see on your Tally screen. There is something called as key definition. A button definition, if you give, then it has to be in the form as a button. But there are certain hidden actions that you can perform, and that hidden action is done via a definition called key, TSPL sample key. Now this key definition also, obviously, something that is not visible, what is the point in giving the title? So anyway, it will not have a title, but it will have a key. And here you can say Control CTRL plus Alt plus 30. Control Alt W, and you can provide any action that you want. Action display. I think you asked me this question, so let me just show this display, and I give my report name. Here, I give this report. Control Alt W, and this key I mention it in my form. Mere existence does not, mere definition does not work. I need to declare it. Fine. So let me just refresh this. F2R TDL F4. I go to my report. Control Alt W. Control Alt W. Oops. I have something, some other application in my system which takes that shortcut key. So I will have to change that, because that application has a precedence over my Tally application. I will make it Control Alt 1. F2R TDL F4. Control Alt 1. You see, my sizing report has opened. So, Brian, you had a question, right? I think you have solved your question. And I press escape on this, and it goes back to my parent report. So, this is called a parent report, which is its child report. Now, I don't have anything else here, so it does not go further. I escape, I come back to the parent report. So, further questions? No questions.
Drill down is similar like this. We have to go.
No, drill down is not like this. So we are having a topic called reports, and in that topic we will do this. Okay. The question was, is this how my drill down report works? The answer is not exactly. But when we write that drill down report, we'll see how it is different from this. Okay? Yes. Any other questions? How I want you people to raise your hands. People who have done what I had asked to do yesterday. Raise your hands. Alive? 1, 2, Shamir. What about others? 3, Anil. Who else? Raise your hands. I would like to see. Keep your hand raised till I ask you to put it down. Shahid, great. Jackson says only 1. Which one? Okay. Okay, I see Rachna. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I see 6 people hands are raised. What about others? 1 minute. Just coming back to this. Jackson says I don't have a license. Jackson, you don't need a license to write your code in Tally Developer. You can write it into Developer, and you can just attach your text file to your Developer. This is the question is, who has done or solved or worked on the questions I had given yesterday? Muthu, have you worked on the questions yesterday? Great. People who have raised your hand, I would suggest you to send me what you have done yesterday. You all have my mail ID. You have been receiving my emails and things. I would request all of you to go through that and just provide me whatever you have done. Meanwhile, Joseph will do over the weekend. So you're going to set it on Monday. That is absolutely okay with me. Sorry, I don't have a Skype ID. Well, I just see to that I can get it installed on my system. I don't have a Skype ID. I'll see that. Right? Okay, you can lower your hands. Yes, this is many people have asked me about the recorded session, web recorded sessions. Yes, I will be providing you the web recorded sessions, and I'm just trying to get it done today itself. Presentation slides, no. Right now, I do not have still got permissions to share that. I will give you the recorded sessions. I'm just pushing my backend ISOs team to get this web sessions on the place where it is supposed to be. And one problem that we have is the session that I have recorded yesterday has got corrupted and it got truncated. So I actually have only 2 sessions that I will have. That is one which we did on the first day and the one which we did today. Yesterday's session has got some problems and I will not be able to upload yesterday's session. It's got corrupted. But yes, I can give you the first day and today's recorded session. And there are some tryouts that we have to do for today. One tryout is so shouldn't we have tryouts for today? Yes. So let me just copy paste the tryouts for you. Oops. This is not what we have done. This is we have done this. Right. So you can create this report also. Now please ensure that you can do maximum of it. To this button report, give as much as creativeness you can give. Okay, and somebody needs my mail ID. My mail ID is ratna.tallysolutions.com. It's ratna.bhatt@tallysolutions.com. That's my mail ID. You need to send me mails to this ID. Muthu, I will share that file only after I receive what you have tried, right? See, I will share my try it out, but before I share my try it out, I require you people to share what you have tried. So what else? So people have enough work to do for your weekend. Yes, Jackson?
Is it possible, would you have some time?
Jackson, I cannot. Jackson, you're too far up from the mic. I cannot hear you. Hello?
Can you hear me?
If you can come a little more closer, I think I'll be able to hear you. Yes, now tell me. Jackson? Yes, Jackson, tell me. Jackson, I thought you had a question. Where are you? So I think Jackson has got disconnected from us. Like anybody else, any other question? I think Brand Mark wanted to ask a question. Brand Mark, you wanted to ask a question?
Yeah, ma'am, but I missed that question. I forgot.
Oh my God.
Tomorrow, okay. Tomorrow we are having any session, or tomorrow is the weekend?
Tomorrow is the weekend, directly on Monday.
Okay. Now we are starting on Monday only.
Yes. So before we start on Monday, I expect, how many people are you over there?
3.
3. So I expect all 3 of you, obviously on the subject line you will have to write Brand Mark. I expect all 3 of you to send me a try it out at least by Monday morning.
Yeah, fine, no problems.
Right. Anybody else? Okay, fine. Can I just show you a little glimpse of Tally Dictionary Manager? So this is how a dictionary manager looks like. It is it's more like an Excel sheet. There are some default strings we have already made available, the English strings, which will be available in your Tally developer folder. It will be made available here itself. It's called Tally.ERP. Right. So this is your base file, and I can create a new working dictionary. Say I want to create a French dictionary. Project name French. Select language French. I want to use the French which the people use in France. Save it where? I give my location. And my base dictionary is Tally base. And I say create. Okay. And yeah, it asks you, do you want to use your French keyboard layout? And you can say yes. And when my cursor is here, you see, automatically it changes to French. And when it's here, it changes back to English. Similarly, we have something called as phonetic keyboard. This phonetic keyboard is the adaptation of what we have in Tally. I hope you are aware that Tally uses a phonetic sound to create dictionaries. Just let me show you this one. Let me just create a new one and show you the one which Tally has already, Indic languages. File, new, create a working dictionary. I'll make it in Hindi. Yes, Hindi. Yeah, okay, done. Create. Okay. Okay, my file has got created, but I wouldn't use the keyboard Hindi, but I will use the phonetic Hindi. Now, what is this phonetic Hindi? What you speak is what you can type. So I give an open round bracket and I write A, R, L, and S, A. That is alpha. So this is the phonetic. How you pronounce is what you need to type, alpha. So when I don't have this phonetic keyboard on, actually I write A, it's A, L, S, A. This is how I write alpha. Okay, so this is in English. So this is how we pronounce in English, and when you use the phonetic keyboard, it uses the sound of what you are saying, and it types it out that. Okay, so that's how you create phonetic. And I said you can create as many dictionaries you want, and based on the country you're falling into, and will help you a lot. Right? Okay, and then there are a lot of other facilities to it, and it has dictionary properties to which particular serial number you want to, give this. So this is a very small thing. We have a help reference manual also for dictionary manager, so you can just go through that. Okay. Okay. I have a question.
How we can link this dictionary to our Tally? Like if I'm doing on the French language, how I can implement that to Tally?
Simple. Open my Tally folder. We have a language folder. Paste it here. Create a DCT file, .dtt file, and paste it here. It will pick up. Clear?
Clear.
Alim has a question. Can I redefine things like definition in the dictionary? Alim, I couldn't get exactly what you are looking for. If you could come by. How can we change default text? You mean the English text? Shahid. You have asked a question. How can we change the default text? You mean the Hindi text. You create a Hindi dictionary, whichever text you want to change that and paste your dictionary. Joseph has a question. What is the importance of the dictionary? Dictionary. This is what I get from my dictionary. So if I don't have this, I cannot serve my customers in my country. So if you are, say, working in Germany and people are using German language, you can create a German language. Alim, if I want to write details instead of definitions, can I change the keywords? No, you cannot. You cannot change the keywords. Puneet has a question, how do I get this dictionary? This was a part of my first day session. It is a part of your Tally developer. In your Tally developer, there is a menu called Tools in which you have Dictionary Manager. So when I click that, it opens. I hope I've answered your question, Puneet. But again, for this you need to have a valid Tally Developer 9 license. You need to have a valid Tally Developer 9 license. Any other questions? Anybody? Yes, no? Ali, your hand is raised. You have a question still? Okay, let me ask this question. Has everybody downloaded, at least downloaded and installed Tally Developer 9 in your system? I'm asking everybody, just download it and install it.
Yes, we did.
You have done that, right? So, in your Tally Developer, click on Help. There is something called as TDL Reference Manual. Open this manual. In this manual, we are following this structure. We are following this structure of the book. So we have completed in variables, buttons and keys. This is what we will be continuing on Monday. And this is going to be a quite lengthy chapter, quite theoretical things. People, please ensure you are not late. Everybody, please ensure you are logged in by 2:45 at the max. And if you can at least just read through first few pages, say till what we have this object association, right? So at least before object association, I'm not expecting you to. I am not expecting you to understand whatever is written there. I am just expecting you to read through it once. So from page 61 to page 71, just read through it once. Shamir, please reinstall Tally Developer 9. There has to be a problem with your installer. Okay? So this file will be made available in your Tally Developer folder. You can just open it and you can read through it. Shahid, please refer to the Dictionary Manager Help Reference Manual. Shahid, can you show us how can I change default indexes? I think I have already said. Create a hidden dictionary. You have to create your own dictionary. Write it out. Shamir, I told you evaluation version is not available for international partners. You will have to use the education version or you will have to procure a license. Right? Any other question?
That 90 days trial we can activate, no ma'am?
I said no. For international partners, we do not have evaluation license. You have to use education mode or you procure the license. Anybody else any other question? Fine, then we can start leaving for this session. I hope no questions, right? Yeah. Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Thank you, Rachna. I am expecting you to give me your try scores at least by Monday morning. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice day ahead.